What's going on, everybody? Darrell, the Whiskey Saint, back with another Whiskey Wednesday review, guys. And let me tell you about this bottle. This was actually from a group called Barrels of Hope, focuses on charity. You pay a little bit to their Patreon, you get a couple bottles, every couple months or so, and they've been killing it. The last couple releases for me have just been stellar. This one being one of them. What we're going to be reviewing today, guys, is a Middle West Spirits Dark Pumpernickel Rye. It's like a tongue twister trying to say it. Fairly new to me in terms of this bottle. I believe I've tasted it two different times with two different single barrels. Both been very, very good. But I want to say this may be the best one that I've tasted so far. Still a small, group of how many I tasted, but none of them have been bad. So you stick with me, guys. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and a subscribe. We're going to kick this off and dive right into this thing. Cheers. Welcome back, guys. With no further ado, we're just going to pour this up, dive right in, and let you know my thoughts, as you already know. I like it, but we're going to taste through it again. And just look at the color, though. Like, these things are nuts. Like, it really takes that name on, Dark Pumpernickel Rye. Like, you can barely see through that bottle. It's pretty crazy. But we're going to pour this up, taste through it, and let you know how it scored and ranked on our little spreadsheet. Give it a little swirl. God. Literally right off the nose. Like, this thing makes you want to just dive right back into nosing it. Like, I don't want to take the glass away from my nose. Like, it's crazy. Super, super dark, rich, oak, spice. I'm not really familiar, honestly. I know what pumpernickel rye bread is, but I don't think I've ever nosed it to know if this actually noses like it or not. But I am really digging a nose. Yeah, just super rich, has like a nice funk to it. You would think it's a little older than what it is coming off of the nose, but this thing is only 4 years old. And take a look at this, guys, right? $80, $79.99 retail for this bottle. This one in particular, this single barrel coming in at, to be exact, 124.48 proof. And it's a 4-year-old whiskey. 4-year-old getting that type of color. Like, absolutely crazy. Yeah, but this nose, like, literally, I haven't even taken a sip, guys, and I'm not even really mad about it. Like, it just smells so good. So much oak presence, rich, a little bit of vanilla there, but just that dark spice and funky oak. Like I said, makes it come across a little older than what it is. Actually, a lot older than what it is, to be honest. Oh, man. Yeah, the front of the nose is just killer. As you can see, I scored this a 9 on flavor, up front on the nose and on the depth. Like, that rich oakiness just provides so much depth along with that funky note that you'll get off of like some, 12 to maybe sometimes older whiskey. Like, this one's obviously not that old, but it gives you some of those notes, which is kind of crazy. Oh, man, I'm just going to dive in for a sip. Usually it's the second sip that really hits for me. But this first sip, guys, just gushers and pop rocks just bursting on your tongue with flavor. That oak is definitely there. Almost get a slight drying note, but it's so much fruit, like dark fruit, blackberries, even some grapes in there. Get a little bit of citrus, like right at the back end of the palate, but it's so much dark berry. Oh my God. Let's go in for another sip really quick. Yeah, it just met with so much flavor, front, mid, back, like literally the whole tongue's coated. Like I'm not sure if it's gonna pick up on the camera, but it has some legs. Like literally wherever this whiskey touches, it's literally dripping from the top of the glass. But as you can see, guys, front palate for me, like it's so much of a flavor explosion that I couldn't really rate it under a nine. Like, have I had some better? Yes, on a couple ryes, and that's the only reason that it's a nine versus a 10. But for some that tried this, they would probably think the front's a 10 for them, depending on how wide of a selection of whiskey that they've tasted. Like this thing hits you like a Mack truck up front with crazy, crazy good flavor. It's not overwhelming by any means. Doesn't blow you out. Like it's not super high in proof, but it definitely drinks its proof. Maybe even a little bit higher with that rye spice in there. Coats the mouth nice. Nine on the mouthfeel as well. I'll just sip. Just revisiting this just makes me want to keep drinking it, guys. Like this thing is nuts. As I said, the whole tongue pretty much gets coated. It loses a little bit of the complexity on the mid palate, only because it's not really a change. It's steady, which is fantastic. But sometimes you'll get like a wave of different notes across the tongue, and I'm just lacking out a little bit on the mid. So I gave it an eight, but the flavor's still there. Constant flavor as it was on the front. So that's the only reason, in terms of that eight for complexity. Just lacked a little bit on that end, but an eight is still a great score. We look at finish. This thing at 124 proof, you would think it's probably like maybe 130 plus. It drinks like a Jack Daniels barrel proof rye, like some of those high 130 proof ones. Like that's where this kind of leaves you. I think this is actually better than almost all the ones that I've had. Maybe not the 2020 Heritage, which was really, really good, but I can probably put this up against most of my single barrel proof ryes that I have from Jack Daniels, and I think in terms of flavors, this would probably beat it out. Even on finish too. Like I said, 120, 124 proof, but it drinks above its weight class for sure, but in a good way. Flavors I have on a finish in nine because, like I said, front mid palate is solid. And that length of the finish surprised me. At this proof point, like yes, it's 120 plus. But I've had 130, 140, 150 that sometimes don't give you this sensation. Like it's still like tingling on the sides of my tongue and on the back of my palate, which is crazy. Let's go in for another sip, guys. This nose is everything. All that dark berry. It's lovely. It's just a really put together whiskey. You look at balance and value here. Balance, I have it at a nine. It's hard for me to really put something like perfectly balanced at a 10, but I don't really have any knocks. Like if that mid palate was maybe a nine or potentially a 10, then the balance definitely would have been there for me for a 10 versus a nine. But any nine isn't a slouch in terms of our whiskey ratings. I got this value at a 10, even though it's 4-year-old whiskey for $79, right? Just the experience and the overall whiskey itself is just that good. Like, I am not disappointed. And with this, I technically actually didn't even pay, the $80 for the bottle because it's included in the membership. But I would gladly pay $79 for this. I wouldn't even blink twice prior to even tasting this one. From the experiences that I've had with the other two that I've tried, I think they're all worth it so far. Until they until they tell me otherwise, and I have one that's you know bad. I'm pulling the trigger on pretty much anyone that I can find. Like these are really, really good, guys. They're not local to me. I believe they are based out of Ohio. So they probably got a good following over there in terms of allocation, but they're not on the East Coast for me on this end, so I'm stuck with, single barrel groups and programs of that nature to get my hands on it, and or friends like you guys. Everybody shares whiskey over here, which is great. Bottle sent here, sample sent here, bottle shares, all that good stuff. So, there's always a chance to taste it. If it isn't local to you, that's potentially the route to go. But if you do see these lying around, guys, I think they're a must pick up. Like, this thing is crazy. On the front, it says smooth, full-bodied, soft spice. I wouldn't say so much as smooth, but it's definitely full-bodied. Soft spice, I can see that. Like, I do pick up a decent amount of spice. I would say a little bit more than soft, but it rubs me the right way. This is just a really, really good representation of a single barrel from Middle West on this Dark Pumpernickel Rye. Kind of got to say it slow for you guys so I don't mix it up. But really, really, really good bottle. When we look at, total overall scores, we're looking at flavor at a 92.5, experience 86, just a couple 8s and 9s that didn't kick it up there. But the value for me all day is at 100, 79, 80 bucks, for the experience that you're getting off of this whiskey and flavor is a no-brainer for me. That brings a total overall score when you factor basically flavor and experience at an 89 for me, which is really, really high. I believe last year for our top 20 or so whiskeys, I think the 20th was probably about like an 85 or so. So right off of that score, like, it catapults it, to top 15, top 10, probably whiskeys of the year so far. Well, should I say at the end of the year in terms of that scoring, unless we drank like some crazy, crazy banger stuff that's like catapulted into the 90s or so. But 89 for me on this whiskey is saying a lot. Like, I've had a couple good things, a couple more reviews coming up with some really, really good whiskey. But this right here for a rye for our 2023, this may be the best rye I've had so far for 2023. Haven't had many, but as it stands mid-March, this may be the best rye I've tasted, coming out of this group, Barrels of Hope. But with that being said, guys, we're going to take one more sip of this whiskey because it's that good. And we're going to end this off. Literally every sip. This literally has like my mouth watering. If you heard my voice when I started talking, like, it was like I almost slurred for a second because my mouth was just like salivating on this whiskey. It's so, so good, guys. Oh my God. I wish I had another bottle of this, but I'll be saving it. I'm not going to dive in too hard, but I put a big dent, probably about maybe a third or so into the bottle, but we're going to hold on to that with dear life and not finish that because I'm not sure if I'm going to get one that tastes as good, so savor the good ones, share the good ones, and hopefully have it for another year or two. But thanks, guys, for tuning in for another Whiskey Wednesday review. Keep it locked in. Bunch of content pretty much every other day with us, and we're going to keep it fresh. Got some guests coming on in the next couple weeks. It's going to be some good times. Cheers to everybody that's been here. Take it easy. Have a good night.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello.